Good morning.
Good morning.
Might be a little too bright. Oh, well.
Good morning, Sophie.
Good morning, Juan.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, thank you.
Good morning, Ramiro.
Good morning, Sophie Torres. How are you? Good morning, everyone.
Um, on your name, it says Sophie Torres and not Ramiro Cavazos. I just wanted to flag that for you. I don't know how that happened.
That's okay. I'll be Sophie.
That's fine.
We've
We all
got
know.
two Sophies. We've got two Sophies today. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Janie.
Good morning, Ramiro.
¿Cómo están?
Aquí, pasándolo.
I know, trabajando. Janie, you were great last night on TV. You were amazing. Sophie.
Yes, sir. That's fine. That's fine. I actually don't have an A&M mug. I know that might be hard to believe.
Is the chamber applying for the $10,000, which is forgivable?
I believe so. I believe Brandon is taking the
Okay.
lead on that one.
Let us know and we can help with that.
Thank you.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Good morning.
Okay, great. Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started now. First of all, buenos dias. Thank you guys for being here. I'm Dr. Erica Gonzalez. I'm the 2020 chairwoman for the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber and also CEO and president of Stamp Allergy here in San Antonio, Texas. You know, as a doctor and a small business owner, I'm acutely aware of not only how COVID has been impacting our community, but how it's impacting our businesses and our way of life. And make no mistake, this is a public crisis and also an economic crisis like the world has never seen before. San Antonio grows and flourishes because of our dynamic small businesses, and this is actually account for 9% employment in our city. And so right now during this time, we do as much as we can to help our community so that we can continue to provide the resources that they need. I want to thank our panelists who are here with us today and who have agreed to participate in our first ever webinar for the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber. We also want to thank everybody who has joined us this morning. We were anticipating 50 people registering, and we were really overwhelmed with the support with over 300 people registered, and I think we already have about 200 who have tuned in. So thank you all for being here. Today we have Ramiro Cavazos, President and CEO of the United States Hispanic Chamber, Anthony Reese, District Director for Small Business Administration here in San Antonio, and Janie Barrera, President and CEO of LiftFund. Again, I want to thank Ramiro, Anthony, and Janie for being with us. A few housekeeping rules before we start. The webinar is being recorded and it's going to be posted on our website. It's also going to be shared with all our attendees here this morning. Should you have any questions for one of our speakers, please type it out in the chat or raise your hand. There is going to be time for question and answer at the end of the presentations. So now let's get started. I'm happy to introduce Mr. Ramiro Cavazos, a dear friend of the Chamber who is now running the National Hispanic Chamber, to let us know what's going on at the federal level. Ramiro, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Buenos dias a todos. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, for your leadership as the chairwoman for America's first Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, founded in 1929. I had the honor of working for more than 10 years as your CEO in San Antonio, and it helped prepare me for what we're going through today, and knowing that all decisions that are important are done at the local level. And so I've taken that learning to Washington to represent our 250 Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. I also want to commend our interim CEO, General Ayala, for his leadership and hard work and for steering the ship during this transition period, Doctor, and then the whole staff at the Chamber, Sophie, Brandon, and everyone. I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to be on this webinar with you. I will do my best to just point out some of the highlights in the time that I have and be brief, Madam Chairwoman, but I wanted to say that our hearts are with each of our guests today calling in. There's nothing more important than our businesses and the need to provide them the liquidity and the support that they have. You all have a great panel, and our goal today is to make sure that we get the information out there to make wise decisions for our businesses. I'd like to just start out by saying that over the last 2 to 3 weeks, when this COVID crisis began, it's very clear to me that this will be our finest hour as Americans and as Latinos and Latinas. We are seeing remarkable acts of solidarity that we have never witnessed before. I am old enough to remember the OPEC energy shortage in the early 70s, the Black Monday in 1987 that hit our stock market, and of course the recession of 2008, 2009, and then of course 9/11 in 2001. And now with this COVID crisis, it's very clear that this is something that will bring us around to a new beginning as a nation and will change our lives forever. So having said that, our main goal at the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce on behalf of our chairwoman, Carmen Castillo, and our board members is to represent you well. We have 60 million Latinos, 250 Hispanic chambers, and close to 5 million Hispanic-owned businesses. So we have been in direct contact with each of our chambers, and we've been advocating on your behalf with Jovita Carranza, our SBA administrator, and also with cabinet member Steve Mnuchin at the Department of Treasury, or at the Department of Commerce. So we are very much focused on getting the answers and the results that we need. I wanted to mention that when this all began, we felt that it was important, Madam Chairwoman, to cure the liquidity problem with the cessation of business. These external factors are really cutting into everyone's business, as we all know. So a new loan program was created based on 50% of the payroll of the first quarter of this year, and that's how the number of 349 billion was put into a loan program and grants. The SBA will be more expert than we are at speaking to that, but our responsibility to you and everyone is that the majority of these loans are to be forgiven. They're 100% federally backed, and they're supposed to be fast-tracked. Today is the beginning of the application process. I know there are a lot of updates that have happened. I will say this, Dr. Gonzalez and everyone on the line, that we are flying the plane at the same time that we're building it. So your questions are important. Please send them to us. There will be a phase 4 of the CARE Act that will be passed with potentially additional funding and clarity on some of the ground rules that are needed. I believe that this crisis will be an opportunity for many of our businesses, and so we just ask you for your immediate questions, and I would say that as you move forward, deal directly with your bankers. If you're a small business owner or a Latino or Latina business owner, to work through these problems. Even the banks themselves, as you all know, are getting the information as late as 9 p.m. Last night. These programs are brand new. We've never had these types of programs, and the funding is going to need to be utilized the best way possible to keep and retain our jobs and to keep our businesses alive. The Department of Treasury, Department of Commerce, and SBA are working closely with the White House. We have been at the White House in direct contact with them, and also had calls with all of our chambers to ask questions directly. And we've sent follow-up letters also seeking clarity on how minority businesses are plugged in to the decision-making. The good news is that CDFI's LiftFund, which Janie Barrera is a great leader for here in San Antonio, the largest microlender in America. Janie is a national leader and she will also be a great resource to many of you to steer the ship forward. CDFIs like hers also qualify. Community development financial institutions also qualify to participate with these programs along with the banks. It is very important that you not give up. Do not give up. Seek every avenue possible. Seek information as you move forward with identifying how these programs are working. On our end, as a U.S. Hispanic Chamber, our goal is to do the blocking and tackling in Washington to get the clarity and the answers that we need, and to deploy the funds to provide the liquidity needs of our small business owners. Independent contractors are also qualify, and the grant that is forgivable, and also a loan that is forgivable also is for 2.5 months worth of expenses for payroll, rent, and other necessary expenses. I know that there's a lot of confusion in accessing these funds, but my main point to each of you is to be loud and to be clear. Many of these programs are brand new, and even the bankers themselves are learning how to run these programs. As recently as last night, a new application was sent out that is simpler, and new guidance has been sent to banks and lenders as of this morning. So I just wanted to share, Chairwoman, that we are not the experts on the lending programs with the CARE Act, but we are experts at lobbying and advancing the concerns of Latino and Latina-owned businesses and our local chambers. It's an honor to be in San Antonio during this period. The last 3 to 4 weeks, I've been working remotely like many of you, and not in Washington or traveling. And I want you to know that I'm available to you at the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, or any of y'all who have my information. My job is to do my job well for you. And for me, it's a privilege and an honor to be on this webinar with each of you. And I'll be happy to answer any questions later on. And so back to you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you again for your leadership during these difficult times.
Thank you, Ramiro. We appreciate that. Next up is Anthony Reese, the District Director for the Small Business Administration here in San Antonio.
Good morning, Anthony.
Anthony, I believe you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Anthony.
Yes.
Good morning. Anthony, we heard you and then we stopped hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We have the best SBA administrator, Dr. Gonzalez, by the way, here in San Antonio. Anthony, help us.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Good morning, everybody. I had a technical difficulty here, and glad to be here, and I'm honored to be working with the Chamber and on this effort. And these are trying times for all of us, and we're in the eye of the storm. And my staff and I are oftentimes working through midnight in helping small businesses. And like yesterday, I had 25 voicemails in addition to hearing just heart-wrenching stories of small business owners going through this trying period. I only have 15 minutes, and but what we have on the Chamber's website for you is this PowerPoint, and you could request it through the Chamber, or you could email me and request it, anthony.ruiz@sba.gov. And all this information and more is available on sba.gov/coronavirus. First slide, please. I'm going to breeze through this. And next slide. All of this is under the CARES Act. And and a lot of this is still in progress. And so nothing yet is in its final stage. It's still in interim development. And under the CARES Act. The CARES Act provides for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Paycheck Protection Program. But I'm going to show you how a lot of folks think, what can I do? I'm supposed to use one or the other. If you're a company with a lot of employees, no, you want to use both of them. And I'm going to show how to use them in tandem. And if you're just one or two employees, and then the Economic Injury Disaster Loan would be your best bet. But if you got three or more, use them together, so long as you don't duplicate your claim. And even though this is a loan and part of it forgivable, it's like filing a claim. Next slide. The Economic Disaster Loan provides you up to $2 million on a case-by-case basis, where you're going to justify your economic injury. No payments for 12 months. Small businesses and nonprofits are eligible. The interest rate is 3.75% fixed. And for small businesses, for nonprofits, 2.75%. The long-term repayments can be up to 30 years on a case-by-case basis. May be used for debt service, payroll, all your business expenses, including accounts payable. And so these are payments to the trade. You're renting equipment, and includes that as well. Next slide, please. There's no cost to apply. You're not obligated to take the loan if it's offered. And it's not intended to claim your lost profits or lost revenues. And the amount is determined by SBA from the information we obtain from you. Now, let us say you felt that all your information was not complete, and or something else happens between now and December where you need more help. You could reapply for economic injury loan up to and before December 21 of this year. And you cannot use this to consolidate your loans, but you can use it for your monthly debt service. Next slide. For personal guarantees, folks asked us, there is none if the loan is under $200,000. If it's over $200,000, the guarantee will be from all the owners that are 20% or greater and in owning the company. If there's no collateral, if it's less than $25,000, and if it's over $25,000, SBA will ask for collateral, but you will not be declined if you have no collateral available. And you don't have to be a resident of Texas to apply this. Next slide. Who is eligible? Ineligible. And here's a list of companies that are not eligible. And typically these are the same types of companies under all the SBA lending. Next slide. How to apply for it, the EIDL. This is the new website for it. The old website was sba.gov/disaster. If you go to that, just hit request assistance, and it'll take you to this website. It is very streamlined. The only data they're really going to ask of you is, what is your cost of goods sold? If you are a service company, your labor is your cost of goods sold in any materials. If you're a construction company, your labor and materials are your cost of goods sold. If you're a manufacturing company, your cost of goods sold is your labor and your materials, all your material costs. And so it does not include your overhead. That's the only data they're going to ask of you up front, and they're going to ask for some later, depending on your own company's database and the type of industry you're in and the nature of your data. Next slide. The disaster loan assistance is a streamlined process, and this is a copy of the homepage in that website. Next slide. Here it's a questionnaire. Choose one. For example, you're in business and with not more than 500 employees. And then on the bottom, it's important that you do meet all of these requirements. And for example, you're not engaged in illegal activity. And all of this relates back to what type of borrowers are not eligible. Next slide. Here you insert your business information. So it's pretty straightforward. And you see below though, are you a franchisor? And are you a nonprofit? If you're a nonprofit, you are eligible. Here's where they ask you for cost of goods sold for the 12 months prior to that. So you want to assimilate that data in advance. And the others, if you're a for-profit business, do not apply to you. It's nonprofits and religious organizations. Next slide. Here's when you're providing additional information and where it relates to your company. And there's no quantitative data that you need. Next slide. Now, this is the loan application. This is much more detailed. Strongly recommend save this as a PDF, copy it, fill it in pencil, and then you're good to go back and then to fill in the data. And because if you try to do it and contemporaneously, you're going to lose the page. You're going to lose the page. Unfortunately, the way they program this, it doesn't have a long wait period. So it's, and so you see on page 2, some dollar signs. There they're asking for data. So do your homework on this in advance by printing this out in advance. Next slide. The economic disaster loan, in the application, it's a one sentence with a little box. Do you want to apply for the advance? And you can obtain up to 10,000. Not everybody gets 10,000. It's a case-by-case basis. And the loan advance will provide for economic relief and funded within 3 days, and it does not have to be repaid. It'll be forgiven. Next slide. This information is straightforward. Next slide. We've talked about that. After applying, the information will be verified. You may be asked for more information. The projections completed to determine how much you need. The loan officer will contact you for this. Decisions normally take up to 4 weeks. So you're going to wonder, what am I going to do those 4 weeks? And I'm going to show you. One is at 10,000, and at disbursement, there'll be initial disbursement of 25,000 within 5 days after you sign and submit the loan documents. A case manager will be assigned to you to help you with the remainder of your financing. So you want the 10,000 up front. And next slide. Important notes about your application, and don't leave anything blank. Submit all the information, and if more funds are needed with supporting documentation, you can request an increase up until before December 21 of this year. If less funds are needed, you can request a reduction. If denied, you'll be given up to 6 months to provide new information in a written reconsideration statement, so long as it's before December 21. Very critical. Next slide. Here's the website, and be careful about scammers where they say they represent us. And our resource partners are the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, and the Women's Business Center at LiftFund Launch, and in our lenders, which include LiftFund. And so, we have a list of lenders on our website that are the approved lenders for these programs as well. Next slide. The program also offers you deferments on your pre-existing debt. And this involves you and the banks as well as SBA. If you have a pre-existing 7A loan, you get a deferment of up to 6 consecutive months, and to help with your temporary cash flow needs. For microloans, up to 6 consecutive months. Microloans are like from LiftFund and People Fund. On 504 loans, CDCs may help with temporary cash flow issues by deferring payments, and the amounts deferred should not exceed 6 months. On existing disaster loans, you also have deferments there till December 31, 2020. Next slide. The debt relief program, SBA will pay the principal and interest of new loans issued prior to September 27, 2020. And current 7A loans, SBA will pay the principal and interest of current loans for a period of 6 months. Next slide. The SBA Express Bridge Loan. This is a loan you could request directly from an SBA lender, and for $25,000, and then it would be repaid when you get approved for the economic injury loan. And express lenders include LiftFund, and on our website, in the coronavirus, sba.gov/coronavirus, it lists other express lenders. So it must be structured not to exceed 7 years, and it's not a revolving line, and it's like a term loan, and it's not required to take collateral. And so this also is a stopgap measure in addition to the $10,000 advance. Next slide. This is a list of our approved express lenders, and it's if you have any question on this list, please email me, and this list does include LiftFund. And also we have business resources for you on the left part of that website, and also you always have me. You're not alone. You have all our staff to help you. Next slide. The other part, very important part of the CARES Act, is the Paycheck Protection Program. Like I said, it's not necessarily one or the other. The Paycheck Protection Program is about keeping employees working, to reduce the unemployment. The economic injury is it's help the injury to your company. And when you request funding under this, you're provided up to 6 months of debt relief on SBA working capital loans, and which are also the 7A. And under this program, 75% of the loan amount must be for labor. The other 25% can be for expenses. So when you apply for both, you want to avoid duplicating the claimed expense under the 25% portion of this and your economic injury disaster loan. And so here, focus on your employees. If you keep your employees employed, for 8 weeks, that part of the loan will be forgiven. And so I strongly recommend use these in tandem. Use these in tandem with yourself. And next slide. Important resources is for this are the Women's Business Center and LiftFund's Women's Business Center, SCORE, and the Small Business Development Center Network. And they could help you if you've been declined, and with a variety, and helping to provide better information to convince the case person on your claim, loan claim, to get approved. Next slide. This is the contact information for our resource partners, and including the Veteran Business Outreach Center. Next slide. This is our location, and let me give you my phone, my direct phone. It is 703-740-7068. I repeat, 703-740-7068. My email, that's the best way to reach me, Anthony.Ruiz, R-U-I-Z, @sba.gov. And I'll be more than happy to respond to questions within this program, and also one-on-one directly where you can reach out to me by phone or email. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. This is Juan Ayala. Thank you very much. That was great, Anthony. And I want to welcome over 200 participants in the first ever webinar that we've had here at the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber. Just real quickly, I want to thank Madam Chair for the confidence and for allowing me this opportunity. It's been a great opportunity. What a heck of a time to come in, but it's been challenging, but I think we're going to get through it. I don't think we are going to get through it. Military career, real quick. This is, I went through all the experiences that Ramiro talked about in a different, I was wearing a uniform at the time, but this reminds me of a sequestration on steroids is what it reminds me of. And so, and it is a war. And the thing that's very common about this is uncertainty. So I want to welcome everybody. And now I have the privilege of introducing Miss Janie Barrera from the LiftFund. Real quickly on the LiftFund, they're a nonprofit loan fund committed to empowering small businesses with limited access to traditional sources of credit. And their goal is to be a sustainable organization that contributes to economic development, so and business loans and other essential services. So, Janie, thank you so much for being here, and over to you.
Thank you, General. Appreciate the opportunity of being here. Thank you, Hispanic Chamber, for providing this source of information for our small businesses in our area. As General pointed out, we're a not-for-profit organization that lends money to small businesses that cannot get loans from banks. So we partner with institutions to be able to get that capital then to be able to use out in loans. So we are not a bank, so we don't have depositors. Banks and credit unions, what they use is the deposits that we make in their institutions to be able to lend. So LiftFund has been doing this work now for 26 years, partnering with banks and credit unions, and also individual investors. You literally can invest in LiftFund and get a 2% return rate, and that's the money that we use to put out on the street. Now, I share this information with you so that as I speak about a specific program that we have with the county and the city, it's because we're using public money, county and city money, to be able to help the small businesses. So a week ago Tuesday, Judge Wolf and Commissioner Justin Rodriguez said, what if the county were to provide you working capital? Can you put these out in loans and at 0% interest? And so fast forward now 10 days later, well, actually, let me stop there. That was on a Tuesday. By the Friday of that week, we had over 550 applications for these loans up to $25,000 at 0% interest, which if you added up all those applications, it totaled over $40 million. So here we received $5 million from the county, of which the request from our community is $40 million. So I'm happy to report, though, that these loans are getting out. We've already, yesterday, we closed our first loans from that, from the initial tranche of applications that we received. So we've put out 10 loans yesterday. We're about to close some more today. It also came with $250,000 grant from the county for us then to re-grant it out into small businesses. So we've done that as well. We helped about 50 small businesses getting those grants. I need to say that the grant program has been totally exhausted. We no longer have grant money to be able to lend to our business community, but on the grant side, we're still accepting that. If you go to on the loan side, I'm sorry, we're still accepting loan applications. If you go on our website, LiftFund, LIF as in Frank T, FUND.com, you will go to the landing page for COVID and press on that, and then it'll help you maneuver into the correct application process. Last night, as you all have heard, we're still trying to figure out this PPP program. The LiftFund, as Anthony Ruiz stated, is a provider of the PPP fund as well as other banks in our city. If you go to the website, you can find the nearest or CDFI, which we are, nearest you to be able to apply for these PPP funds. Again, LiftFund has to partner with an entity. So this morning I was told that by Steve Hennigan from Credit Human, they're going to provide us the working capital that we need. In other words, we are borrowing from credit union the money that we will need then to put out on the street. And so as soon as we can get that up on our website, we'll be accepting PPP applications. Please don't, we're going to have to do it over the weekend. It's not up and running yet. We're still trying to get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed on how this program is going to work. But Mr. Ruiz already talked about that it's mostly for payroll. You know, you've got to use 75% of the loan that you're applying for payroll, and 25% can go into the rent and utilities and interest on other loans that you may have. All of this has to be done by June 30th. That's when we stop accepting applications. And then once you get approved for that loan, you're going to have to, and you keep people on payroll for a minimum of 8 weeks, then that's when you start reporting. If you chose to come to LiftFund or choose to go to your other banks or other credit unions that you're going to be working with, that's at the point that you start delivering the receipts and show that that for the past 8 weeks you have kept people on payroll, and you justify that, and that's when that information is submitted to SBA for the forgivable part. I guess I will stop there, General or Madam Chair, and I believe we're going to take questions now.
Yes, good morning. Thank you all again for your time and willingness to participate. We have a lot of questions that were submitted over the last few days and also going on in our chat. So I'll start with the first one is regarding the applications for the disaster loan and stuff. Can you amend an EIDL application after it's already been submitted? is one of the questions we've received.
Yes.
For that, would they need to go online to their portal, or what would be the best way for them to amend their application?
The website contains a phone number and an email for the customer service contact. That is your contact. If it's more mature in its process, then you have a case manager, and then you communicate with the case manager. And the changes to the application can be done up to before December 21 of this year.
Thank you. Along those similar lines, we submitted a application on March 30th and was assigned an application number. Do we need to resubmit, or should we have heard something already?
Do not resubmit, and so it takes time. Be patient, and I hope you check the box for the advance. And if you're also in dire need now, go for the bridge loan, the $25,000 bridge loan, and whereby the source of repayment will be the economic EIDL. And if you have more employees, I urge you, let me say 2 or more, apply for the payroll protection program, because you keep these employees and it's retroactive to the day you laid them off. And so if you keep them from 8 weeks, that loan is forgiven. And so that's the biggest expense any company has, labor. And so you want to apply for that as well.
Thank you. A few more questions regarding LLCs specifically. How do various programs work for LLCs filing as partnerships? Namely, are grants and loans available for the guaranteed payment covering partners, or just payroll reported on 940, 941 forms?
Under LLC, by you saying partners, I assume it's 50-50 ownership. You will show both owners as the 50% owners, and you're a company. And so if you're an LLC, you're not a legal partnership. And so as a company, LLC, apply like all companies do. You just have to disclose the 2 owners and the 50% ownership each. And you're able to claim all the business expenses that all businesses are able to claim, as well as the nonprofits. I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Ruiz, I just wanted to add, if they are taking draws and they show those draws, that can be submitted as payroll on themselves. Correct? When
an owner takes draws, don't they show that as salary and compensation when they file their tax returns?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and so that's their payroll, and so it's in that they're not able to take draws because of just low revenues. It's in effect not being paid, and so you treat it as if it is your payroll under the LLC, because when you file your 1040, that's your salary and compensation. It's I believe the total profit is not claimed as compensation. The tax exception is if you reinvest part of that in the company, and then that's not part of your payroll.
Great. Similar to that, and I believe you 2 might have answered this already in your discussion right now. If you are an LLC with no employees, just yourself, do you qualify for PPP? What are the stipulations behind pay back, or can it be forgiven if you are the sole employee of an LLC?
Put up the CARES Act handout I have. PPP handout? The PPP handout. No, that's the one it's detailed wording.
Oh, I have not sent that to everyone. I will be sharing that with all the attendees, the one you sent me this morning. Apologies for that.
What I have to provide you is, this is going into the Federal Register, and you're going to be provided the wording right now that's going to the Federal Register. One of the complicated parts of the Triple P program is how you're able to claim payroll. And so it's a mathematical formula, but the write-up provides a lot of examples on the write-up. So that document is going to answer the questions. And so whether it's one employee and other questions that I was asked, like I make over 100,000, will all of that be eligible? The answer is no. The limit is 100,000. But then there's a way to calculate the claim, and that detailed write-up provides you those examples so that you have a cookbook approach to claiming your loan amount for payroll, which ultimately will be forgiven. And a word to nonprofits, this is ideal for you, because in essence, it becomes like a grant, because the payroll amount for your nonprofit will be forgiven. And because nonprofits are very sensitive to adding debt to themselves. So the answer is consult that form for the one employee, okay?
Great. On that similar conversation, if an employee is making over $100,000, would they still be able to receive some sort of portion in PPP, or there's a calculation in that document that you mentioned?
Yes, they will receive up to 100,000 under the PPP program, and over 100,000 will be deducted.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just going through the questions. Here's one. I temporarily closed one of my restaurants and submitted a mass filing spreadsheet to TWC. Would I still be eligible for PPP? If I got PPP, would we simply stop unemployment benefits?
Yeah. When you get the claim the PPP retroactive to the date that you laid off your employees, and when you get it, the funding, bring back all the employees, and you must keep them all for at least 8 weeks. You will be requested to deduct the amount of unemployment all of you received, and from that claim, and so that one will be a little bit more complicated, but it's a math problem. And so the answer is yes. It's just the processing just a little different. But the key is to bring them all back.
After we submitted the EIDL with the $10,000 box checked, is there an email sent to us telling us that our application has been received? I submitted mine the night it went live last week and still have not heard anything. It has been more than 3 days and have not seen the grant yet. This was from Frank Garcia.
Yeah, Mr. Garcia, be patient. And now if you don't get an answer in 5 working days, email me, sir, and I will find out for you. Again, my email is anthony.ruiz@sba.gov. Espero que usted sí sabe cómo deletrear Ruiz.
Here's another one from Lindsay Herman. How long is it taking on average to receive a successful application to be eligible for the initial advance? I think you kind of answered that.
Yes, they said 2 to 3 days, but they are so swamped nationally that it's taken a week, it's taken 2 weeks. So please bear with us. But if you're really concerned, we are here to help you. Email me, and then I will run some traps for you.
One question was, I am a 50% owner of one company and 100% owner of another company. Can I apply for each company?
Yes, and there's separate applications, and I urge you use both programs in tandem. Just avoid the duplication of expense on the triple P and the EIDL, and that's what we're calling the economic injury disaster loan now, EIDL. And so the answer is yes, and just keep the documentation straightforward.
Great. Does this apply to contractors as well, to independent contractors that you support, that you use to support your business?
Yes, SBA under the Code of Federal Regulations regards 1099s as independent contractors. So the employer cannot claim you as an employee. He can claim you as a subcontractor, or alternatively, you could claim yourself as a business owner. But you want to make sure that your claims do not duplicate one another.
We just have time for a few more questions. Here's another one. If you receive a forbearance on rent to keep cash on hand, can that money still be recovered under PPP when the rent is paid?
If it is employees, that falls under the forgiveness. But what I don't understand is what you mean by recovered. Would you repeat that again?
The question is, if you received a forbearance on the rent to keep cash on hand, can the money still be recovered under PPP when the rent is paid?
Is this for a landlord or for a renter? If your rent is, if you have forbearance on your rent and it is forgiven, then it's not an expense you can claim. If you're a landlord and you provided forbearance, you could claim that.
It is for a renter.
What's that?
Apologies, it is for a renter.
Okay, for a renter, if there was a total forbearance on that rent and you don't have to pay it to the landlord, then you cannot claim it as an expense. It was the landlord's economic injury.
Thank you. Can I go to any bank to apply for PPP, or do I need to use the bank I traditionally use? Do you have any recommendations?
You can only use the SBA approved expense lenders. You have that list, and my staff overlooked LiftFund, and that includes LiftFund. So on that handout, you see the express lenders. And then if you go to our coronavirus website, sba.gov/coronavirus, then there you could put in your zip code, and it shows you near you where are those express lenders. And if LiftFund doesn't pop up, it's our error, and keep them on your radar as well to go there.
It's popping up, Anthony.
Great. Thank you so much. We obviously have a lot more questions that people have submitted that unfortunately we don't want to, we want to be mindful of everyone's time here. Mr. General Ayala, would you like to provide any closing remarks?
Yes, thank you very much. Ramiro, Cavazos, Anthony, Reese, and Janie, Barrera, thank you so much. Compelling discussion today, a lot of great information. And I'm sure this your presentations are going to, or your presentation, especially you, Anthony, are going to go out. So those questions that are remaining that weren't answered were answered. Special thanks also to Sophie. Sophie, you put this together. You did your job. Thank you very much. Well run. And the last thing I want to say is, well, a couple things. Thank you to the participants. I hope this was helpful. Let us know if there's other things that we can do, not only to me, but to our esteemed panelists. Final thing I'll say is the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is looking at other webinars. The next one that I've asked our team to put together is we have a huge federal and military presence here in the city of San Antonio. It's the top employer in the city, and they're not going away. We have the footprint of 66 federal agencies here, and there's about 80 to 90,000 uniformed and non-uniformed members. So the next webinar that we're crafting together is how to do business with the government, do business with the military, because many of our small businesses are doing that. So with that, thank you all very much, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Thank you, Anthony and Janie and Sophie. Appreciate it. Thank you, General, and thank you for your service also, Anthony, to our country.
Enjoyed it with you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Look forward to meeting you in person, Anthony.
I'm looking forward to that too, sir. When this blows over, let's have lunch.
All right. Sounds great. You were in the service?
Pardon me?
Did they say you were a veteran?
Yes, I am. Vietnam, Staff Sergeant, Artillery, Bronze and Purple Hearts.
What unit?
4th Infantry Division.
All right. Well,
the Highlands. I was in the Highlands.
There you go. I'll sit down like a couple old vets and have a good time.
And thank you very much. I was even loaned out to the Vietnamese Army for 90 days to train them in artillery. Wow. It was a wonderful cross-cultural experience.
Well, you know, I think those military experiences really help us. They're helping me in this position, I'll tell you.
It's helped me as well. And when I got home, within a month, I was enrolled in college and graduated top of my class in the international relations at Cal State and competed for an $80,000 scholarship at a private university, University of Southern Cal, where I got my MBA in marketing and finance and became an international banker for 5 years. And then I became a business owner for 22 years.
Wow.
And it's,
are you from here, Anthony?
No, but I lived in Texas almost 20 years. And I grew up in Arizona, which is a lot like West Texas. And I lived in El Paso 10 years, El Paso 5 years, where I had my manufacturing company. And now here, come March, I'll be in San Antonio 5 years.
Yeah, I was born and raised in El Paso.
Ah, very good, very good.
Yeah, I went to UTEP.
Yeah.
And I was commissioned out of UTEP and left in '79, and you know I did 36 years altogether.
Very good, very good. I did workshops at UTEP, Fort Bliss. To this day, I ask my daughters, "Where's the best ribs you ever had?" Cattleman's Restaurant.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's where you take your serious dates. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I got acquainted with New Mexico because I bought this old beat up station wagon, and my daughters didn't want to be in a van. They liked station wagons, and we drove many weekends all over New Mexico and then staying in these different towns overnight. And they So they got a good exposure to New Mexico as well.
Yeah. Okay, Anthony, thank you for what you're doing. I know you're working hard, and wow, what a time to be in this arena. But we're in the arena, and
Yeah.
so I look forward to getting together with you and calling on you if we have any more questions.
You can always call on me, General. You can always call on me. And you don't mind if I call you General, or you prefer I call you Juan?
Call me Juan, please.
Okay, Juan. And but I thank you for your service. It's admirable. I read your bio. It's very impressive. And you're serving in our city as well. That is great. It's you have all my respect and admiration.
Okay, take care, Anthony. We'll see you.
Hasta luego.
Adios.